Hi everyone, and welcome to the Big Bath Sleep Out. Thank you to everyone who's joining. You can see I'm live from Alice Park, and it's a really bustling venue. We've had over 100 people at the park, so a big thank you for watching along and joining us at home. It's of course been a really challenging time for everyone, home and abroad, so I really appreciate the time that you're giving up tonight to spend with us. We've got a jam-packed programme of events and activities tonight, so soon you'll be hearing from our CEO Helen, who's got a special message for you. We've also got a den building activity, so make sure you've got your items ready, your cardboard, rope and your tent pegs. We'll also be hearing from some of our clients who we've helped, and by sleeping out tonight who you'll be helping, and also from some of our colleagues who are working in our services, our hostel and our outreach teams, working on the ground to support people experiencing homelessness. We'll then move on to a mindfulness session and some bedtime stories to get us ready to sleep through the night. So as you know, the Big Bath Sleep Out, it isn't about recreating rough sleeping. You know, just spending one night outside doesn't replicate the harsh realities of what someone has to go through every single night. But it does give just a tiny glimpse into what perhaps that reality may look like. And I'm sure tomorrow morning when you wake up, or perhaps when you wake up in the middle of the night tonight and feel a bit chilly or perhaps a little bit scared, it kind of gives us a glimpse into what people are forced to do. And by sleeping out and seeing the night through, you know you'll be helping to provide a brighter future for people. So I hope you've wrapped up warm, you've got your warm clothes on. As you can see, I'm layered up. I think I've got about 5 or 6 layers on this evening. It's going to be a chilly one. Luckily it looks quite dry, so I think we're in luck there. But make sure you've got your warm layers and your sleeping bags ready. And tonight is obviously about raising awareness and fundraising. So I hope you've got your Just Giving pages or your fun pages ready, fundraising pages, and start sharing them on social media. Get some pictures or some videos of you sleeping out. Use the hashtag Big Bath Sleep Out, and tag us in at Julian House UK, and keep sharing those pages, and we can try and get to our fundraising total, which will hopefully be over £35,000 tonight, which would be absolutely incredible, and it would go towards helping hundreds of people in the local area who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. So you'll hear from me shortly, but I'm just going to pass over to my colleague now, Helen, who's our CEO, who's got a special message for you.
Good evening everyone, thank you so much for taking part in the Big Sleep Out tonight. My name's Helen. I'm the Chief Executive at Julian House. We're so grateful for everything that you're doing for us. By sleeping out tonight, you're helping to raise awareness and vital funds for Julian House and the people that we support, whether that's someone sleeping on the streets, people experiencing other forms of homelessness, or women and children fleeing domestic violence and abuse, and people experiencing mental health crises and long-term unemployment. By sleeping out tonight, you're helping to ensure that we can provide vital accommodation and practical support and emotional support to people with wide-ranging needs and different experiences of social exclusion. You're helping us to provide starter packs for people moving from the streets into their own accommodation, as well as a wider range of activities that help people get back on their feet into work and into permanent housing. So on behalf of everyone at Julian House, thank you so much. By sleeping out tonight, you're literally helping people to change lives and to save lives. So good luck everybody, and thank you on behalf of all of us at Julian House.
Thanks there to Helen for her special message, and I'm excited to pass you on to Adam and Tanya, who will be leading a den building exercise for you. So make sure you've got your cardboard, your tent pegs, your rope and your plastic sheet ready, and follow along.
Hello, my name is Tanya and I run Playwood Forest School here in Bath.
And I'm Adam and I run Broadtree Forest School, also here in Bath.
Normally in forest school sessions we make our dens out of tarpaulins and branches, preferably with lots of foliage on them, and we really enjoy doing this. We do it quite often.
especially when it rains.
Yes.
So today we're limiting ourselves a little bit. So we've got some plastic, we've got some cardboard, and we've got some rope that I managed to dig out the cupboard. And that's pretty much all we're going to be using. So should be great. Join us and let's get started.
Let's get started.
So we're going to start with some rope, and we're going to put that up between two trees, but if you don't have trees you can use a fence post, or you even only need one high thing, to be honest with you. Then we're going to stick our plastic down before we put our cardboard both on top of the plastic so it doesn't get wet, and also the cardboard's going to go over the top of the rope to give us a little bit more protection from the elements.
Then we've got tarps which are going to go on top of the cardboard. We're going to peg those down, hold them in place with a few bits of wood, and then we're going to get cosy with sleeping bag and some blankets, and that's everything.
So if it's going to be a cold night where you find yourself with a bit of extra cardboard, the best place you want to put it is between where your shoulders and your upper legs are, as that will keep you as warm as possible. So if I pop that there, I'd want to lie on it just about like that, and that's going to be the best way for me. Sounds great.
Well, I didn't have a very good childhood because I lost my mum and dad when I was 12. well, lost my dad when I was 11, lost my mum when I was 13, in and out of foster care. So then about 15, 16, started smoking weed, and then just went on to the harder stuff, and then basically escalated from there. Life went very good. I was homeless and stuck in a drug and alcohol addiction for many years. Well, I just wanted to commit suicide, basically. The lowest I've ever felt. One of my family relatives, cousin, managed to get me out of a squat in Westbury. She put me up for about 6 weeks to get me off the drugs and stuff like that, to get me stable. Then I ended up moving into a dry house in Trowbridge. And I've been there now 2.5 years. At first it was hard because I was still actively stuck in addiction and found it really hard to like say no. Then basically got 28 days to notice to quit, and that's where I changed my mind and I had to start saying no to people and distance myself from other users and stuff like that.
So I supported Malcolm within supported housing, and then I left that side of Julian House and then took on a role with employability lead. At that stage, obviously prior, Malcolm had already done the Build a Bike scheme. So he was aware, and the mechanics knew Malcolm, and he wanted to do something meaningful. So with the help of his key workers and myself, we got together and got Malcolm volunteering. So Malcolm would come every Monday. He'd do every Monday. He was a great help. He would help with the Build a Bike guys. He'd mentor, the clients who were on the course. He was a great help to the mechanics. His attendance was brilliant. He turned up every week, and he was just a pleasure to have around. First met him, Malcolm struggled, especially being chatting to people. He didn't have very much confidence, and he was very shy. Had no motivation. And over the years, I've seen him really come out of himself, and he's gained confidence. His appearance, he's chatty. He will go out of his way to help anybody. And he's kind of got to that stage now where I can see in himself, he doesn't want to go back to the way it was. And I think equally he's proud of that as well, because he has achieved something that I don't think 2 years ago he would never have thought he would have got here. And here we are 2 years later, and his life's completely turned around.
I did start volunteering for the bike workshop about a year ago, I think it was. And that's built my confidence up to, I've actually got a job now, so it's built my confidence to get in a job. I'm doing some labouring work on a building site in Bath. So I'll carry on working and getting my own place eventually.
A lot of the clients who I come across, it's not until you actually help that they think, actually, you want to help me. You don't stereotype me. It's like, no, you're a normal person. You're a normal person who's just stuck in a rut. But I don't think I've met anybody who wants to be in that position. They all want help, but it's just knowing where to find that help.
A big thank you to Malcolm and Geraldine there for sharing their story. Geraldine works as an employability lead at Julian House in our bike workshops, helping people overcome some of their traumas from homelessness and helping people get back into jobs either through our Build a Bike courses or our other skills workshops. And also a huge thank you to Malcolm for sharing his really poignant and emotional story there. As you've probably seen, many of the people that we support have gone through severe trauma through their life and have been forced onto the streets through no fault of their own. Through his sheer determination and also our support, he was able to rebuild his life. So a huge congratulations to Malcolm for his incredible achievements, and a big thank you again to him for sharing his story with us. Next, you'll be hearing from my colleagues Holly and Glenn. Holly works across our homelessness services to help people who have experienced homeless move into long-term accommodation, and Glenn is our hostel manager, which is based on Manvers Street. So over to them.
Some people have substance misuse issues, and it's not always what has led them to the street. There are people who don't have those issues until they're on the street, because there's boredom, there's safety, there's pressure. They're not often given the fair shout by the people out there because of the way they present themselves, or if they've experienced trauma or difficult times in their lives, they don't always know how to interact with the rest of the world. It's far more than just a bed to sleep. We offer food, we offer showers, we offer contact with the outside world. We offer someone who will listen and care, and we help clients not only to try and get somewhere warm and dry and well fed, but we'll also help them regain mainstream society if that's what they want. And for a lot of people, there's no bank accounts, there's no ID, there's no benefits in place, and we will walk people through that system.
My name's Holly Flewitt. I'm one of the service development managers at Julian House. So it's mainly the support workers that support people away from homelessness. They have a really key role, and they touch base with me, and I help oversee that. So a key part in it is creating a move-on plan with the client. So when someone's homeless, obviously they're at their most chaotic. There's a lot of other things and a lot of other issues going on other than the fact that they are homeless. So we need to look at focusing on the key obstacles that they have in accessing accommodation, and to support the client into accommodation. So addressing things such as substance misuse, supporting their mental health, getting them even just seen by a doctor to address their physical health. So it's really working with them to get that established and some sort of move-on plan, support plan, sorry. It also involves a lot of getting them into their own home, liaising with a lot of agencies, a lot of multi-agency work to create a successful support plan. Support workers dedicate so much time to each individual and work really hard to get them into a position that they can succeed and find some stable accommodation. Having accommodation, whether it be in Housing First, supported, their own independent flat, it's really important because it creates that stable home for someone, and having that stable home creates sort of like a positive ripple effect to other issues that is going on in that person's lives. So with our clients, it's not just a case of they've not got a home. It's a case that they've come from a really traumatic background, they've had a lot of traumatic experiences, which has led them to this street-based lifestyle that they're living. So it's trying to work with them to get them away from that and show them there's something else outside of that. But breaking that cycle that a lot of them are so entrenched in is one of the biggest barriers to it. We had someone who was an entrenched rough sleeper. They very rarely stayed in accommodation, and if they did, it was for a very short period of time, and that went on for years and years and years. And as part of everyone in during the COVID pandemic lockdown, he accepted a flat in the centre of Bath, and he was living there. It wasn't the best property, but it was what we could do at the time as part of everyone in. So outreach supported this individual to not only get him in, which was a barrier in itself, but also support him in accommodation. Because I think a really key thing to acknowledge is that supporting someone on the street is very different to supporting someone in accommodation. There's actually a lot more risk involved with supporting someone in accommodation, especially when they've been so used to staying out on the streets all the time. So this individual support workers worked to get him in, support him there. And then as time went on, he stayed there since the February lockdown. So he's been there now for about 10 months. And there was began to be towards the end a lot of complaints from neighbours in terms of visitors, and support workers really worked hard to help him address these issues, remind him of the fact he couldn't have visitors, the risk that posed to not only his tenancy but which individuals he was letting in and all that kind of thing. And he could have been quite a vulnerable individual and in quite a vulnerable position. And we worked with the landlord to try and address that and say, because it was working towards eviction, final notices, all that kind of thing. We worked with the landlord to try and prevent that taking place. But unfortunately, he was given that last warning for the visitors. And, you know, it was really difficult for us to see because he had a note on the door saying, please don't come in my flat. I'm on my last warning. So he was working really hard to not allow that to happen. But unfortunately, because of the ongoing complaints, the landlord had to act on it. So support workers worked so hard to get him somewhere. He even said, I don't want to go back on the street. So that was an amazing reflection of the work that had been done when he'd been homeless for such a long time until that point. So yeah, support workers worked really hard, and now he's in shared accommodation still in Bath, really happy, doing really well. So yeah, it was a really good outcome. The COVID pandemic affected services and staff in two ways, really. I mean, everyone had to carry on as normal with the face-to-face liaison, face-to-face interview and face-to-face conversations throughout the scariest time, which was the March 20 lockdown. So it was a case of continuing that, but also not only managing their own anxieties among staff, but also the anxieties of our individuals on the street, individuals in supported accommodation who already have a lot of paranoia, a lot of anxiety, and managing it in that setting was really, really difficult. And I think as well, the fact that so many new things have come on it, it's a whole new way of working now. Everything is COVID secure, COVID related, new ways of managing things. So can we have that many people in the supported accommodation now? I know that the hostel had to reduce the numbers from 20 to 17 to fit with the social distancing. So it's practicing a whole new job, really. But I think as well, it has brought some good things from it, like the example I gave earlier of the individual who's now successfully in accommodation. The main thing with the work we do that I wish that the public were aware of is kind of the emotional turbulence that the support workers go through. So anyone involved with these clients and working with these people that need the support so much, need the help, might not acknowledge that they need it, but we can see the issues going on around them and their chaotic lifestyle. To try and work with someone who is in such a situation that is so difficult and ride that with them, I think is just outstanding what the work that the support workers do. So thank you everyone for sleeping out tonight and all of your support with Julian House, and I hope it all goes well.
Thanks to Glenn and Holly there for talking about our services and how we support people from the streets into accommodation and into a brighter future. So I'm joined here with Simon Jones, who's from our sponsor, Univigil, and they are sponsoring the event, which is absolutely fantastic, a financial company in Bath. Simon, how are you finding the event so far?
Oh, it's been really great, actually. Yeah, it's a really good atmosphere around the park, and so far we've set up our little pitch and we've got our flag out, and yeah, so far it's really great.
Fantastic. And why did Univigil decide to sponsor the Big Bath Sleep Out?
So as a firm, we deal with clients' finances, so be that across pensions, mortgages, investments, and through speaking to people at Julian House, we found that you know, you can simply be just one paycheck away from the streets. So as a firm of financial planners, we wanted to sort of look at a charity that's local, but also kind of feeds into what we do and help people, definitely.
Fantastic. And what do you expect the night to be like, and do you feel prepared?
So I've honestly got zero expectations. It takes me back to sort of Scouts days in my teens, but luckily we've got a decent night for it. The weather seems quite clear and it's dry, but yeah, hoping for a little bit of sleep if I can catch some.
And how did you find your fundraising, and what do you hope to learn from the experience?
So fundraising has gone really well. So as a firm, we've done like bake sales, and actually the response has been fantastic from people. And I think what I want to learn personally, but speaking to the guys, they feel the same. Is just kind of gratitude, really. Like, we are so fortunate to be in the position that we are in, and to maybe just have one night experiencing what people on the streets go through, then maybe we can look at life a little differently going forward.
Thanks very much to Simon there for joining us, and for to Univigil again for sponsoring the event, which has been absolutely fantastic. The whole team has been amazing, helping us promote the event, raising extra funds, and the team are here tonight sleeping out as well. So now over to Kate, another client that we helped last year. Over to her.
I had a brilliant childhood. I was brought up really well. Amazing house. My dad passed away. He committed suicide when I was 11 years old. It basically kind of broke the family a bit. We all kind of separated within the next 2 years after that. By the age of 14, I was doing heroin with some of my family. I've been on heroin for probably almost 9-10 years, also the crack. Basically, I ended up homeless in Bath for about 2 to 3 years, just me and my brother. And it was at the point where I'd been on the drugs for so long, where it was just a way of healing pain, getting rid of the pain, and realising that I had no family left. We'd all kind of separated and I wanted it back. So I kind of decided that, you know, I needed to get my life back on track, get off the drugs. I joined the service with Julian House and basically got all the support I needed. And I've been clean now for almost a year off of all the drugs. And I am now looking at college courses and trying to get into my next stage of housing. I want to go to college. I am not 100% on what career I want. I have thought about fashion and design, music, or if not, animal care. I want to qualify and get a forever job, basically, and have enough to get my own home and maybe start my own family one day.
I'm honestly so inspired by you, and you might have seen that just immediately brought a tear to my eye when you started talking about stuff. And one thing, because I've known you for about a year now, and one thing that I've seen with you is that you're always going to try again.
Yeah.
That there might be slip-ups, but you always try again. What is it that enables you to do that? Like, what is it within yourself?
I actually have been thinking lately that it is, I think in every adult there is still that little child in them. And personally, one thing I always thought about as a kid is to one day have my career and a family, and it's that's the one thing that keeps me going, is to hope one day that I will get there. And I think that's what keeps me going, really, is to just want my family back and a real life.
thank you to Kate there for sharing her story. Tonight is all about raising those important funds and awareness to help people like Kate and Malcolm who've been brave enough to share their story with us tonight. It's all about getting people off the streets or from the situation where they're experiencing homelessness, providing that much needed support and accommodation to help those individuals rebuild their lives and fulfill their potential and have a brighter future. Thanks to you at home and everybody at Alice Park. That's exactly what we're trying to achieve tonight. So a big thank you again. Keep sharing your fundraising and just giving pages. Make that final ask to family, friends. Get it on social media or the final emails and text to people. Be sure to tag us in hashtag Big Bath Sleep Out, and it's at Julian House UK. So we're going to move over to Michael Loader now. He's a local storyteller who's got a really interesting yet spooky story for you to send you off to sleep.
Hello there, my name is Michael Loader. I'm a storyteller, a teacher and a writer. Good for you for taking up this challenge and going for the big sleep out. Last year I slept out with each full moon. So each month I went out with a new full moon to experience, to encounter new things. As a writer, as a storyteller, I'm looking for new experiences to tell stories about. And if I've experienced them myself firsthand, then usually I tell them with more interest and more passion. So that was the reason for me going out. I went out there in rain, in heat, in every season of the year. Sometimes it was very warm and sometimes it was bitterly cold, but every experience gave me something new to think about and share with others. Now, be prepared. You never know what the weather's going to be like unless you look at the BBC weather forecast, which is a good thing to do. But I always go out with a thermal vest on that comes all the way down to my trousers and down to my wrists as well. A good fleece to keep me warm. Also one of these. This is good to keep out any breeze that's blowing around, and a good warm hat at the same time. So I went out last January to Goblin Combe, which is very near to where I'm living. It was just a walk across the road. I went out in the dark by myself under the stars. I knew roughly where I was going to sleep, but not exactly. But I always make sure I have flat ground. If there are lumps and bumps, that's really uncomfortable. I remember waking up, I think one morning with a bit of a scratch on my side because there had been a bit of a bramble underneath. That wasn't very good. But also, if you have any ground that's slightly slopey, it's not very good. Make sure you have your head higher than your feet. But also, if it's slopey that way and you like sleeping on your side, you might fall out of your bed. So be careful where you sleep. So, Goblin Combe. And there is an old traditional story associated with this place. And it goes like this. There was once a parcel of children who went to play in the woods on the first day of spring to hide and seek from one another and those that hid in the shadows. A little girl strayed picking primroses, and when she lifted her head she found herself alone. She looked around, but only saw trees. She listened out, but only heard leaves. She called, but only heard silence. She sat on the rocks, and tears fell from cheek to chin, hand to stone, dripping between the cracks. Silence remained, until she heard a scritching and a scratching. Tiny fingers appeared between the rocks, and taking her gently, they welcomed her into their underground world, with enough light to see, with enough dark to be frightened. She dried her tears and gave them the yellow primroses. The tiny folk were grateful, and giving her a golden ball, they showed her the way back to the village. Her mother believed the story, and word spread, reaching the ears of a man who worked in the city. He called around to the house and asked her mother if he could see the golden ball, but she said, "No way." Undeterred, the man made his way into the coombe, where he plucked and pulled handfuls of primroses, and sitting on the rocks, poured a cupful of water between the cracks. He then heard a scritching and a scratching coming from the rocks, and tiny clawed fingers appeared. But it wasn't the first day of spring. It wasn't the right amount of primroses, and he wasn't an innocent little girl. And so they pulled him down into the shadows and into the dark. So when you're out and about with your friends, perhaps you could make some stories up as well. So I'm going to read you just a little bit of my story that I wrote after having that moon sleepover. And this is all in Goblin Combe, the same place where that story originates from. Any journey into the night is a journey of finding your way through the dark with the light that is offered. And with 2 candles aglow, I make my nest of bivvy and sleeping bag, blankets of wool and fleece, inflatable pillow and mat. But I remain undetected without fiery beacon glow, still awaiting the moon dog's rising. The forest is quiet, apart from the occasional swell of waves that sweep through the tree-top pines. No light flashing sky monster here, hurtling high, shaking the roof of heaven and earth of forest floor. I lie cocooned in my layers, looking up through the eye hole of my bivvy to 20 bright stars, and under the watchful gaze of Orion I climb the dangling belt sure-footed, up the celestial ladder with imagination's bare feet to rise from this blissful somnolence. Cold night breeze whispers me awake, and wriggling from where I have sunk, I come up for air and gasp as I watch the bright, hallowed light of the moon dog, rising from its paw-marked, clouded trail, and smile, hello. The shy moon has eventually appeared, twice bitten by winter's wolfish hunger. Dream waves are carried out on the wind, gradually building, lifting the air-blown trees from their roots. The tidal flow, now pouring along imagination's ancient riverbed, breaks on steep rocky banks to flood the brown leaf island on which I sleep. The peering, squint-eyed wolf moon watches with indifference, padding softly along the dark path of night. The night drifts, the dark begins to pale, and I am stirred by the high-pitched whining of whimpering of an early morning earth dog, followed by a firm voice. Birdsong bright begins to stir new worm-cast thoughts in my grub-like bag. Light dawns and a new day beckons as crow calls morning's warning, racing overhead with roke, croak in the pinking of valley's early gathering. Footfall, bird call, and a rush of steps scuffle nearby. I sit from invisible horizontal, and the terrier, another earth dog of early morning, now on the border of bewilderment, stares with surprise as the man-worm materializes from the forest floor. I sit still inside my brown, green, black, mustard, camouflage envelope on leafy bed by mossy ankled beach, content and warmed, cool and calm, whilst the gentle breeze caresses with life-giving breath. So all the best with your nightly adventures, and well done once more for making all of this really come alive and happen. Thanks. Have a good sleep. Night night.
Thank you there to Michael Loader for telling us some of his stories there. What started out as quite a creepy folklore from his local area to his wonderful tales of sleeping out and his learnings from that. But as we can see, he had the chance and the choice to sleep out and experience those things, whereas many often the people that we support don't have a choice and are forced to sleep out every single night. And that's exactly what this event is about, choosing to sleep out for one night to help those forced to do so every single night. So keep sharing those Just Giving pages, get them up on your social media, tag us in on the photos or Twitter, Facebook, hashtag Big Bath Sleep Out, and keep going with your amazing efforts. You're doing absolutely fantastic. So I hope you're feeling nice and snug, wrapped up warm in your blankets, your sleeping bag. Maybe you've got a hot chocolate on the go. We're now moving over into our sleep time series of events. So next up, we've got a wonderful mindfulness session from Max to help us relax and get ready to sleep. And we'll be moving on to our wonderful story of Elvis the Elephant by Helen Bryan. So over to them.
Welcome. My name is Max, and I'll take you through a meditation today that involves a little bit of muscle relaxation and a bit of breathing as well, a bit of breath work. So we'll begin by finding a nice comfortable position. So whether that's cross-legged on the floor or sat in a chair, if you want to have your spine supported, that's absolutely fine. Some people find it uncomfortable to sit on the floor. So whatever's best for you. You don't want to be distracted through the meditation. You want to be reasonably comfortable. So once you've found your position, we're going to do some progressive muscle relaxation. And this is a technique that's really good to do if you can't sleep at night and you're lying in bed. It's a really, really good one to do. But today we'll just do it quite quickly, just as a sort of preparation to go into our meditation. So we're going to inhale and squeeze each muscle group, as I name it, and call it out, and then we're going to relax and on the exhale. So we'll start with the feet. So just comfortably rest your hands down, either in your lap or on your knees. And so we're going to take an inhale and squeeze and flex the toes. And exhale, relax. And then onto the legs and the bum muscles, the glutes. So inhale and squeeze. And exhale, relax. And then make fists and squeeze the shoulder blades back and down on the inhale. So inhale, squeeze, and relax. Exhale. And now the stomach area. Inhale and squeeze. And exhale, relax. And now the face, so we hold a lot of tension in our faces, so screw up the face on the inhale, squeeze the eyes shut, and exhale, relax. And now the whole body together, so squeeze every muscle, inhale and squeeze, and exhale, relax. So as I say, you can do that for much longer if you're led down and you want to go to sleep or something. You can inhale and hold the breath for sort of 15 seconds and then slowly exhale, maybe over 30 seconds. It's really deeply relaxing. So then we'll go on to some breathing practice. So the technique I'd like to show you today is called Nadi Shodena, or alternate nostril breathing, as it's known more commonly in the West. And this is really good at balancing the left and the right hand side of the brain. We tend to have a little cycle of breathing through one nostril being more dominant and then the other being more dominant. And this brings the nostrils back into like more of a harmonic breathing pattern. So they're both, it's got a really nice calming effect on the nervous system. It's also good for if you have any seasonal allergies or if you have a cold and you're maybe blocked in your nasal passages. This will help to open that up and allow you to breathe more freely and easily. So before we get into that, let's just take 3 nice long deep breaths. So we'll feel our bellies expanding on the inhale, and then exhale and just sigh it out. So we'll do that together. So again, placing the hands down, resting comfortably on the knees or in the lap. Take a nice big breath in through the nose and sigh it out. And again, in through the nose, expanding the belly like a balloon, and exhale, relax. And then one more time, big inhale through the nose. And sigh it out. So Nadi, Shodena, alternate nostril breathing. So we're going to place our left hands just palm facing up on the knee, or just hold it in the lap, it's fine. And the right hand, we're going to make a mudra. It's called Vishnu Mudra. We've got our ring finger and little finger together, and our thumb pointing out, and then our first 2 fingers pressing down on the pad of our thumb. And I'll just demonstrate to start with, and then we'll do it together. So cover your right nostril, be covering your right nostril, breathing in through the left, retaining, closing the left, and exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right, closing the right, exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left, closing the left, and exhaling through the right. So we'll do that together, and I'll count you through a few breaths, and then just do that in your own time. And it's quite nice because then you can go at the rhythm of your own breath. So let's find the mudra. So you've got your ring finger and your pinky finger together, and the first 2 fingers pressing down on the thumb. Thumb is out. Let's together close the right nostril, and you can close your eyes down here as well. Relax. So close your right nostril, inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close the right, exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close the right, exhale through the left. Just keep going in your own time. See if you can just deepen the inhale and elongate the exhale, just gently. There's nothing forced about it. Just gently deepening the inhale and lengthening the exhale. Alternate nostril breathing is really good to do if you're feeling a little bit stressed, you've got a lot on your mind, or just feeling a little bit out of balance. It's a really good way to bring you back into harmony, which makes it an excellent choice for preparation before meditation. And I tend to do at least 5 minutes practice of this before meditation. Okay, let's finish off the last round of breath. So that's when you exhale out of the left nostril. Keeping the eyes closed, just bring the hands down to rest on your lap, palms facing up, so in the lap or out on the knees, back of the hand resting on the knees. And keeping the awareness on the breath. Just notice the rising of the breath on the inhale, the rising of the belly on the inhale, and the deflating of the belly on the exhale. Feeling the effects of the alternate nostril breathing. Maybe noticing the breath has got more smooth and relaxed. Or whether your mind is feeling a little calmer, a little quieter. We will now enter a 5-minute silent meditation. And it can be really useful when we're doing a silent meditation to have something to focus on. So we're going to focus on a count. So inhaling, exhaling, counting 1. Inhaling, exhale, counting 2. Inhaling, exhaling, counting 3, and so on, up to 10. And when you reach 10, you'll go back down to 1 and start again. So let's try. 5 minutes now. So just keeping the eyes closed if they're not already. Just gently relaxing down the neck, relaxing down the shoulders, the arms, legs, and feet. Inhaling, exhaling 1. Inhaling, exhaling 2, and so on. And it's perfectly normal for the mind to wander off. And that's why we give it a count, so that you can gently bring your focus back. It's so easy to get distracted with all the things going on in life, work, family. It's okay. You're not expected to completely empty your mind. It's really, really helpful just to have something to focus on. So anytime you find your mind wandering off, just gently bring it back to the count. Inhaling and exhaling. Making sure that you're seated comfortably, not slouching. Allowing the flow of energy to go from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. Effortless awareness on the count. Just relaxed and aware. If you forget where you are, you're thinking, is that 3 or 4? Just go back down to 1 and start again. Focusing all your attention to the count. There's some days where this is easy. Some days where it's challenging. But every meditation is worth it. Every time you do it, you're improving your focus, strengthening the focus. And please open your eyes. Welcome back. Just taking a moment to notice what's going on in your mind. If there's not a lot, then that's great. But as I said, some days you'll find the mind is busy, and other days you just get those fragmented parts of clarity that start to get stronger and stronger the more you practice. I hope you enjoyed your meditation today.
Elvis, written by Helen May Bryan, illustrated by Chantal Begonia, published by P. Hen Publishing. Meet Elvis. Elvis is friendly, and Elvis is large. He loved his job at the local garage. He worked with his friends, Ringo and Paul. He was happy-go-lucky, no worries at all. Now, Elvis had always lived in his town. He was known as the best mechanic around. He was cheerful, funny, and super strong. He could even pull broken cars along. Then one day, everything changed. The boss, Mick, arrived with his wife, Charmaine.
"I'm sorry, boys. We're moving away. You've all lost your jobs and must leave today."
Elvis was worried. What would he do? He worked at the garage but lived there too. He loved his job. He liked his home. He was scared and felt completely alone. Ringo and Paul were also sad. With no room at their house, they felt really bad.
"Oh, Elvis,"
they said, "where will you go?"
"I'll be all right, boys. I'm tough, you know."
The next day, Elvis emptied his flat. He picked up his bags and said,
"Well, that's that."
As he left the garage and walked down the lane, he wondered if he'd ever be happy again. Elvis walked until it got dark. Once he was tired, he sat in the park. As it started to rain, he started to cry. But no one noticed. They all walked on by. Nobody realized it was Elvis sat there. He could have been anyone. They just didn't care. Then all of a sudden, someone sat down, and Elvis slowly turned around. "Hello, said a voice. I'm Scylla. What's wrong?
I'm fine,
sniffed Elvis.
I'm big and I'm strong.
I can see that, said Scylla, and it's good to be proud. But I'd like to help you. Would that be allowed? With a deep breath, Elvis started to chat. He explained the garage and his lovely old flat. When Elvis had finished, Scylla looked at her feet, and with tears in her eyes, she started to speak. Listen, Elvis. I want you to know that I too lost my home not long ago. I slept in this park, right where we are. I used to lie on this bench and stare up at the stars. When you lose your job, your flat, your home, it's lonely and scary being here on your own. Someone helped me, and now I can help you. I do understand what you're going through. I stay in the shelter now on the main road. They help people like us who have nowhere to go. Come back with me. They'd love you to stay. There's food, a warm bed, and games we can play. Elvis was nervous. He still wasn't sure, as Scylla led him up to a green door. As the door creaked open and he walked inside, he felt so small, but was too big to hide. His trunk was shaking, his tummy felt tight. But the shelter was lovely. It was friendly and bright.
Welcome, Elvis. Don't worry. We'd love you to stay. Come and sit down. You've had a long day.
His omelette for dinner was tasty and warm. After he'd eaten, he started to yawn. Elvis was tired and got into bed.
Thank goodness for Scylla,
he thought in his head. And there we will leave him, safe and sound. How lucky that kindness and help were around. I want you to know that Elvis was fine. He'll get back on his feet all in good time. He doesn't know yet, but things will get better, starting with the arrival of a special letter.
Dear Elvis, I hope you are well. I wanted to meet you. My name is Miguel. I've just bought a garage and moved to the town, and I've heard you're the best mechanic around. I would love you to come and work for me. Could we meet? Yours sincerely,
The end.
Thank you there for that lovely story of Elvis by a great supporter of ours called Helen and Brian. So that's it for the live stream. I hope you've enjoyed the programme of events. A big thank you to everyone who was involved in the making of it, from our support workers, Holly and Glenn, to some of our residents who were brave enough to share their story, to Helen, our CEO, for her special message, to Max for the mindfulness session, and to Michael Loader again for his story time. Keep sharing your Just Giving pages. It's all about fundraising and making that extra ask to boost your fundraising total. So do that through the night. Share your pictures and your videos. A reminder to use the hashtag #BigBathSleepOut and tag us in at Julian House UK. And make sure to wrap up really, really warm tonight. Get those layers on, those jumpers, those coats, the hats and scarves. And if you do wake up in the middle of the night, just remember why you're sleeping out. It's all about helping those individuals forced to sleep out every single night. And by doing so, you're helping to provide a brighter future for them. So I'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early at 7:30 a.m. for our morning live stream and morning stretch routine from Gavin from Outliers. Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow.